Dust off the fusion reactors, it's Battletech time! Woohoo! Hey guys, Gus here and welcome to my first video in my series on Battletech. So, this is a bit of a social experiment as well as a obviously a review and explanation and demonstration of the game, because I bet you 90% of gamers out there won't even click on this. So we'll see, a bit of a social experiment. There we go. So the things I'll go through in part one are going to be a quick sort of rundown of where Battletech has come from in terms of real life history, the mechanics of the game, the in-game history, and then I'll do a bit of an explanation and demonstration of the game, how it plays, and also a like a semi sort of unboxing of the introductory box set. So anyway, let's get on with it. So initially the game was released in 1984, speak English you fool, by a company called FASA. Don't ask me what FASA stands for, it's some really long-winded explanation. Anyway, so FASA Corporation released Battletech in 1984. So it was pretty popular at the time, you know, in the 80s and the early 90s. It was quite a popular game. I mean, I remember it back in South Africa being a popular game when I was growing up. Then it sort of started to decline towards the mid-90s, towards the end of the 90s, but it's still got a very, very strong die-hard following. Even today, it's a very, very strong core following of Battletech. They're like die-hard. These guys aren't going to go away, okay? They're long-term fans. So anyway, so in 2001, WizKids acquired the rights to Battletech. Now, WizKids they did Mage Knight, if you remember Mage Knight. They're doing the new X-Wing game. They're the guys releasing that. And they did, when they acquired the rights to Battletech, they released a MechWarrior HeroClix game, which, you know, you had quite large mechs. I didn't have any, but anyway, so they did that. And then in 2007, Catalyst Game Labs acquired the rights to Battletech. Now, they did a really good thing. Since 2007, because over the years, like, shitloads of stuff has been released, like a metric fuck ton of source material for this game, like loads of books. I mean, there's been like over 200 novels, okay, just for the background story. It's like you think 40k background story is extensive, like it ain't got shit on the Battletech background. There's fucking books come out my frickin' a-hole, you know, for this game. There's so much stuff. So what Catalyst Game Labs did was they started to essentially collate everything, and they put it all into one book. They worked through everything. They kept the best stuff, put it all into the new released main rule books, and they re-released the like an introductory box set, and they did a really good job. Now, what Battletech is, okay, so obviously it's a miniatures war game or board game. It's meant to be a board game. I mean, fuck it, the two overlap, right? So ideally it's meant to be played on a hex-based board, okay, because the basis for the miniatures are hexagons, and the mainstay of fighting forces in this game is the battle mech, which is like a 30-foot tall, essentially a walking tank bristling with weapons that can level cities and fucking destroy moons, and they're just really, really badass, and they're piloted, so they've got a human pilot, and that's a battle mech. So that's like the mainstay of this game is the battle mech. So but you've got everything else. You've got like aircraft and tanks, infantry, and it's not just like generic of that. You've got like shitloads of stuff. You've got all sorts of battle mechs. You've got all sorts of tanks, aircraft, like loads of stuff. Helicopters, VTOLs, infantry, battle armor, blah 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 blah. Anyway, so. But the pinnacle of the fighting machine is the battle mech. Like that's the thing that dominates the battlefield. So, like I said, it's a hex-based game, and it's meant to be played on a board. You can play it as a war game, but it slows the game down. So, I'll show you the boards when I do the sort of explanation and demonstration. But the boards that come with it are a bit crap. Okay, what you can get is you can get printed felt, and then you can actually do like 3D terrain, and it looks really good, and it speeds the game up, because with a war game, and this will become apparent later on, it does slow things down. So ideally it is meant to be played on a board. So the whole game works on, the core mechanic is 2d6. Okay, so like with War Machine Hordes, it works on 2d6. And there's a reason why I really like this. Okay, I'm going to say from the outset, I really like Battletech. Okay, I do. I think it's a really good game. Excuse me, and it works on a 2d6 mechanic. Okay, so I'll explain why this is good. So if you take, for example, rolling one six-sided dice for most war games, okay, you've got an equal chance of landing on any one of those six sides. I think it works out at 16.4%, okay, for any side. So even if you've got a 6+ on something, you've got an equal chance of landing on one as you got on 6. You're completely evenly distributed. With the 2d6 core mechanic, when you roll 2d6 and you combine the results, the most common number you're going to get is a 7. And what it results in is something called normal distribution. Okay, so you essentially end up, when you look at the statistics on the numbers, the percentage chance of the results, so the highest 7, either side is 6s, 5s, etc., etc. You end up with what's called a bell curve, okay, or normal distribution. Now, the reason this is important is because in statistics, this is what's used to represent things in real life. So like battles and war, normal distribution is the thing that's used in theoretical stats for representing things in real life. That's why it's important, and that's why it's really good for wargaming, because it's a lot more realistic. Normal distribution is that's what's called normal distribution, because it's taken from real life and it reflects real life. So it's a really, really good core mechanic to use, and that inherently makes the game more tactical and more balanced. So that aside, so what you've got is you've got like stat cards, okay, essentially for everything. So if you've got a battle mech, you'll have a stat card, and so you use your 2d6 core mechanic, and each like mech will have his pilot, and you've only got 2 skills. You've got piloting skill and gunnery skill. Okay, so gunnery skill goes for shooting shit, right? And piloting skills, like, yeah, if your fucking mech's doing the can-can, he slips down a mountain, you don't want to fall over, so you roll your piloting skill to try and get the mech back on its feet, or whatever, okay? So you've only got those 2 core skills, and then on your sheet, you'll have like the name of the battle mech, and you'll have hit locations, and like the armor for all of those, and you'll have a list of the weapons, how much damage they do, all your internal systems. So like on your mech, you've got armor, and then you've got like your internal structure. So like when you wear down the armor in a location and you start damaging the internals, that's when you get like critical hits, like ammo will fucking explode and blow the pilot up, and gyros will go and your mech will like freak out and fall over. It's cool. So that's the way it works. So pilots, 2 skills, gunnery skill, piloting skill, list of weapons, how much damage they do. You've got a heat scale as well. You've got like all the hit locations and what's in those hit locations as well, and that's what it is, like your armor, and you like tick the little boxes when your armor starts wearing down. So, and that goes for everything. Like you'll have stat cards for each individual mech, and you'll have stat cards for your tanks and for infantry platoons and for aircraft, etc., etc. So that's essentially an outline of the game. Okay. Oh, sorry. And also the scale. Okay. The game scale is 6 mil. So if you look at like an infantryman, they're tiny. They're minuscule. But it has to be like that, because if you're talking about these huge walking constructs, fucking leveling cities and kicking each other in the fucking nads, okay, that it has to be that scale. So it's essentially a 6 mil game. But the good thing with 6 mil is that terrain is so easy. You can make all the terrain you need in a fucking day. Like seriously, it's easy to do. So it's a 6 mil game. There we go. And it's easy to paint. But so it has to be that scale. So anyway, so I'll go into a quick background of the background of the actual game, the actual fluff, and then I'll go into an explanation demonstration. So the fluff, okay. Essentially, what happens is in the year 2500. You get a formation of humanity, which is known as the Star League, okay, and this sort of eschews a golden age on humanity, and humankind masters technology. It's an age of technological wonders and mastery, of peace and prosperity, of expansion throughout the galaxy. Yes, there are wars to conquer periphery realms and bring them under the Star League, and you get now the creation of what's called the inner sphere. Okay, so when I talk about stuff later, you'll know what the inner sphere is and the periphery. Essentially, inner sphere, if you imagine a circle at the centre of the galaxy, and outside that circle is the periphery, and everything inside is the inner sphere. So with the inner sphere and the Star League, there's the formation of 5 great houses. So it's like feudal kingdoms in space, and you've got 5 great houses. You've got House Steiner, Davian, Kurita, Liao, and Marek. And those are like the 5 great houses, and they're feudal. They've got like their own lords and their own like baronies in space, and dukes and earls and shit like that. And there's all that stuff going on. So anyway, so what happens is the original founder of the Star League, his family, 200 years later, after it's all been formed, get assassinated. Now this then starts what's known as the succession wars, because all of these houses are now vying for supremacy of the Star League. They want to be in charge. So it leads to the succession wars, and basically the houses just knock the shit out of each other. They're absolutely they go to town. Like they fucking nuking each other. They're launching wave after wave of assaults. They're leveling cities. They're fucking gassing fucking planets. They waste each other. They really smash each other up. And bearing in mind, there's no aliens in this game. It's all just humans, like just typical human beings, right? Just absolutely wasting each other to try and essentially get control of the Star League and the of space. So what happens is, as soon as these wars break out, the Star League essentially dissolves, and what is left of the Star League Defense Force fucks off. They leave under a guy called Alexander Kerensky, who's like one of the commanders in the Star League, and like 80% of the Star League goes with him. So like the inner sphere is descending into barbarism, and these huge, massive feudal, essentially space kingdoms are like fucking each other up, and the Star League just leave. They're like, no, sorry, see ya, because of all the corruption and all this nonsense. They're like, no, see ya. So they leave. So what they do is they go into like unknown space. They disappear. Like they're not seen for the next 250 years. Okay, and they create what's called the clans. The clans are essentially like, they're a caste society. They're like a warrior caste society. Like the warriors are the top caste. They're the most intelligent, the most skilled, the most genetically able, because they enact like eugenics programs to selectively breed the best warriors. So, and then underneath that you got like the labor, the scientist class and merchants and labor, etc. The warriors are like they're the ones that are at the top of society with the clans. And over the next like 250 years, they develop this essentially like a eugenics program and like an elite fighter, really sort of society. And bearing in mind, they're left with a lot of technology. And what happens with the inner sphere over this 250 years? A lot of the technology like disappears. You know, it ends. So you end up with this really big disparity. So you've got like warp drives, but they're using things like fully automatic tank cannons on them battle mechs and stuff. So it's a real disparity in technology. So anyway, so they create this outer society that's not seen for the next 250 years. So what happens then is, as the succession wars are still going on, over 250 years, there was like 5 fucking succession wars, and it's just, and you see what I mean about lost 250 years of these great houses just like anally butt raping each other. It's just like everything goes to rat shit. So anyway, 250 years later, the clans come back, and these fuckers mean business. They bring back a whole crap load of technology with them, so they got much better technology than all the inner sphere houses. Their warriors all like fucking 8 foot tall, eugenically bred, fucking intellectually superior fighting machines, and the ultimate pilots because they come from a warrior society. And they start laying the smackdown on the inner sphere. They really start fucking people up. So anyway, this grinds on, and this is the period that most people are familiar with, is the clan invasions. So this grinds on, and eventually the inner sphere kind of sort of bands together. They create like a pseudo new Star League, and they defeat the clans. They put them at bay. They wipe an entire clan out, and the rest of the clan's like, whoa, stop you there. So it's kind of like this stalemate thing going on. And so as soon as that happens, typical inner sphere, as soon as the clans are essentially neutralized, the newly found Star League falls apart, and civil war breaks out. Okay, so there's civil war again, and all these like alliances that have been forged over the succession wars, they all fall apart and they start fucking each other up again. So there's a huge breakout. Okay, now this doesn't last very long. Well, I say relatively doesn't last very long. I think it only goes on for like 15 years. Bearing in mind it's been like 250 years out of war. So this goes on for like 15 odd years or something. I think it's actually about 11 years anyway. But so this goes on, and what happens now is you've got an organization in Battletech called Comstar, and they control interstellar communications essentially. So they got the monopoly on that shit. Then there's like a splinter faction, which are like religious fanatics, and they're called the Word of Blake. And these fuckers, towards the end of the civil war among the feudal houses, among the great houses, these fuckers enacted jihad, and they start bringing back all like weapons of mass destruction, nukes and chemical weapons, and they start sweeping through space, and it's like intergalactic jihad, and it's called jihad, like, and all the great houses are like, oh crap, we didn't see this one coming. So then there's this huge jihad going on, and it's like really brutal. Like seriously, it's like even more brutal than the shit that's been going on before. So anyway, so eventually the jihad gets quelled, and then you get what's called the Republic of the Sphere, and that's almost like a new, it's like a new little sort of like peace treaty kind of thing that gets formed amongst the great houses. Like, right, we've had enough of fighting now. Stop you there. Okay, and then what happens is, all of a sudden, bearing in mind the word of Blake was a break of Comstar, which can have the monopoly on intergalactic communications, right? So then this new sort of organization gets formed, the Republic of the Sphere, and then all of a sudden, like 10 years later, everything goes quiet. Intergalactic communications shut down. And bearing in mind, it's fucking huge. Like, I'll show you the star map. This is like massive, okay? Intergalactic communications break down. And then, you know, true to form, the great houses are like, what's going on? So they start suspecting each other and wars break out again. So that's where we are on the timeline. So when you play Battletech, the most common area to play in is the clan invasion. That's the most common one. So that way you've got clan technology, you've got inner sphere technology, and you can mix and match with your army lists. But that's the most common, clan invasions. But you know, you've got like the different areas. So you've got like clan invasion, then you've got, after that was the Civil War, then after the Civil War you had the Jihad, and then after the Jihad you've got the Republic of the Sphere, and that's what's called the Dark Age. It's like the newest sort of setting. So so anyway, so that's a brief background. I'm going to go into now a quick explanation, demonstration of gameplay, and then look forward to part 2. So this is the hex board. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Just don't even say anything. I know it looks terrible, but you need to use your imagination for this. Okay. And this is a really good start to learn to play the game. And you get this in the starter box, but I'll show you that later. This is a really good start to learning the game before you go into like 3D terrain. So it's really good to get practice on this first. So, like I said, the game is in 6mm scale. So just to put into perspective, that's a battle mech right there, okay? And infantry in the water, we're drowning! Okay, so that's infantry. They're teeny tiny. Look how small they are. So they're really small. Okay, so it's a 6mm scale game. Now, on this map you'll see a few things. So obviously you've got your hexes, and it will denote what the hexes are. So I'm just going to run through the green training scenario. So really basic. These two mechs, although they're not matched on weight, the Hunchback's a bit heavier than, this is called an assassin, that's a Hunchback. The Hunchback's a bit heavier than the assassin, but it'll do for explanation and demonstration purposes. So just bear with it, right? I know that you're thinking, oh my god, this looks terrible, but it's actually, just bear with it, okay? When you go into 3D terrain, it's a lot better. So the way the game works then, run through the green training scenario, you've got 4 phases, well the 4 basic phases. You've got initiative, movement, weapon attack, and then you've got the end phase. Okay, so all that happens first is you dice for initiative, okay? Whoever gets the highest, so that's for the assassin, so you rolled a 3. Okay, so the Hunchback got the highest. Whoever gets the highest moves last, okay, and declares weapon attacks last in the next phase, okay? So that gives you a tactical advantage because you get to watch him move first, and then you move. Now, bearing in mind, when you're playing the game, you normally go with lances. It's the common sort of breakdown of a unit is called a lance, which consists of 4 battle mechs, and you alternate movement. So if you win initiative, he moves 1 first, then you move 1, then he moves 1, etc., etc. Okay, so in this instance, so let's set them up. We'll say that they're like here. So the assassin has to go first. So I'll show you the record sheet really quickly. Let's move the dice out the way. So this is the assassin. So you'll see here, you've got movement, he's got his walking, which is 7, running, which is 11, he can jump, which is 7 as well. You can see the gunnery skill and piloting skill are blank at the moment. The base for gunnery is 4, I believe, and piloting is 5, and you're always trying to get higher than that. Okay, so you get like modifiers that will make it harder. It's like you get additions to that, right? Then you've got his list of weapons here. You've got a medium laser, his LRMs, which are long-range missiles, SRMs, which are short-range missiles. You've got the location of that, where it is on the mech, how much heat it generates, which is HT, the damage that it does. Then you've got the range. So some weapons have a minimum range. So like LRMs, you can't fire at a target if it's within 6 hexes, okay, because they're long-range missiles. Then you've got the short, medium, long-range, which will give you, you know, penalties to your firing, okay. Then you've got the armor diagram. So when you start to take damage, it's broken down into locations, and it'll knock the armor off first. And then you go below that, you've got the internal structure. And as soon as you get to internal structure, that's when you can start taking critical hits, and shit can start blowing up. Ah! Okay, alright, and then you've got heat data, like, because remember with the weapons, they generate heat, so you need to keep track of that. And shit starts happening if you generate too much heat, because you can dissipate heat in a turn, because it says there heat sinks 10, so you can dissipate 10 points of heat per turn. And then if you obviously go over that, your mech starts to fucking go into meltdown. Alright, so there we go. So, Hunchback on initiative, he has to move first. He's going to be walking. With your mechs, they can only move, so let's point him that way. So remember, obviously you've got a hex there, so your mech can only move forward and backwards, that's it, because he's a walker. Walk forward, walk backwards, and walk forward again. So with the movement points, because he's got 7 walking movement points and 11 running, it will cost you to turn. Okay, so that's like 1, that's 2, 3, 4, etc, etc. Okay, you'll notice there's different kinds of terrain. With water, it'll cost you more. With like woods, it'll cost you more. So it'll, you know, detract from your movement points quicker because it's tougher to get through. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we're just going to walk him. So you're going to turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can't move into there. So I'll just say you'll turn again 7. So now the Hunchback gets to go, and the Hunchback has, I believe, 5 movement points. So let's just have a quick look at his stat card here. So wrong, he only has 4, so he's a lot slower. However, you'll notice that big fucking gun on his shoulder. That is a big gun. So he's a bit more heavily armored, a lot more in fact, but he's a lot slower. He only walks 4 and runs 6, which is much slower. However, look at his weapons. Autocannon 20 points of damage. Yes! Yes, shoot somebody in the face! Brilliant. So that's a Hunchback, a really cool mech. I actually really like the Hunchback. Anyway, so now he gets to go, because remember, he won initiative. So he's got 4 walking movement points. So let's just see what's going on here. Ha! It's my PC. Okay, so he's facing this way. Let's get into facing 1, 2, 3, and we'll be in. No, we'll leave him there. We'll leave him there. Okay, that'll do. So the next stage then, okay, after movement you get the weapon attack phase. So in this phase, alright, the guy that lost initiative again will declare attacks. Okay, so he will declare what weapons he wants to fire at which targets, so obviously the Hunchback, and then the Hunchback will declare. And it goes the same way, so if you've got like 4 mechs per team, the loser declares first, etc, 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 it goes back and forth. Now, this is important because what happens is all damages resolve equally. So say for example, excuse me, the Hunchback fires first and blows the crap out of this thing, he still gets to fire, okay, because everything happens at the same time. So all damage, so you deal all the damage, but he still gets his declared attacks, okay, because all damage is dealt at the same time. So let's just do it nice and simple. He's going to fire with his medium laser, and he's going to fire with his AC-20, just for shits and giggles. Okay, so the medium laser, if we go back to the sheet, you'll see that you've got short, medium, and long range. Okay, does 5 points of damage, generates 3 heat. We won't worry about heat for now. Okay, and if you look at the Hunchback with his AC-20, it's quite a short range weapon, a 3, 6, and 9, but it does 20 points of damage. Yes. Okay, so because if you go to the quick reference sheet as well, they give you a little quick reference sheet at the front, and it tells you what your modifiers are. Here we go. So they both walked. Okay. Remember that he moved 7 hexes, and he moved 6, and he moved 5. So 6 hexes plus 2 and plus 1, and then also you're firing through woods, so that's another plus 1. So his modifier, bearing in mind the base stat is on the gunnery is 4. He's at a plus 3. Okay. I lie, he's actually at a plus 4 because you actually take a penalty because you walked as well. So he's at a plus 4. Alright, and he's at a plus 3 because he walked a lot less than he did, so it's easier to hit. So he's at a plus 4, he's at a plus 3. So all you do is you get your 2d6 out, okay. So your base skill's 4. Let's do the Hunchback first. Your base skill's 4 plus 3. Wrong, plus 4, so it's 8. So I need to get an 8 or higher. Yes, and he hits him. Woo! It's gonna sting. It's gonna sting, motherfucker. Okay. So if you hit with a weapon, all you do is not like armor saves or anything. You just roll for location. Okay, that's all you do. Okay, so you roll 2d6 and you look at the location. Alright? So, hits him, oh god, 11. That's really bad. That's gonna fucking sting. It's the assassin in his left arm. If you look at the hit locations are all 11. Left arm, almost in the Swede. Okay, so like I said, you apply damage at the end. Okay, so he's hit with his AC 20 left arm. So the assassin is at a +3 modifier, which is 7, so you need 7 or more. That's a 6. So 6 and 2, which is 8, so hits. Then you got to roll for location, because remember he fired at the medium laser. Okay, so the location 7, which is the center torso, right in the middle of the chest. Okay, so now you apply damage. Okay, so this bit's easy. So all you do is you look at the record sheet, and then you detract from the armor value. As soon as it starts to go through the armor value, you go into internal structure. So if you look at the hunchback, he got hit in the center torso, okay, which is there. So all you do is you check the little box off, and bearing in mind a medium laser only does 5 points of damage. Right, so you tick them off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. So you can see how much armor this freak has got on his chest. Okay, once you've whittled that down, then you get to internal structure, and as soon as each time you do damage to internal structure, then you start getting critical hits. That's when shit goes badly wrong. Okay, so now the assassin, okay, bearing in mind he got hit on his left arm with an AC 20, which does 20 points of damage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into internal structure. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Damage carries over if you destroy the arm. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, fine. So essentially it's a critical hit on the left arm. So he's got nothing on his left arm, but he's got something on his left torso, which is the SRMs. So that could end up getting destroyed with a critical hit. Anyway, so you get the idea with that. So it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so that is the basics of Battletech. Okay, there are problems with this game. There are, and I'll go into them at the end of the video. You've probably started to notice them already. However, the actual core mechanics are fine, and as soon as you start to play on a 3D board, it looks freaking mega. This is just to get practice on. This is all this is for, okay? Because this is like, it'll show you like woods and water and like level 1 and 2 terrain and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so that's like hills basically. So this is just to get practice on. Once you start playing on a actual 6x4 table, it's freaking mega. So that's the basics of the game. It's really easy. You know, 2d6 rolls to shoot, hit something, detract from the damage, you can do critical hits. But in this game it's all about outmaneuvering your opponent, okay? Because bearing in mind, as soon as you start getting to the rear, mechs have a lot less armor on their asses than they do on the front, okay? So it's all about outmaneuvering your opponent. Anyway, so that's a basic demo, and I'll go into the introductory box set unboxing. Woohoo! Okay, so this is going to be going into the Battletech Introductory box set. If you're a wargamer, you should own this. Seriously, this is really fucking good value for money. Like £35, okay, and God damn, the amount of stuff you get in this box is like, look, it won the Origin Award winners. It won something, okay, because basically it's really good value for money, right? You get an absolute ton of stuff in this box, okay, you really do. And this is the introductory box set, so if you want to get into this game, all wargamers should own this. Simple. It's just that good, okay, and it's that good value for money. So in this box you get a whole bunch of stuff. Yes, he's getting punched in the head. Woo! Okay. Anyway, getting overly excited there. So in this box you get a whole bunch of stuff. I've painted a bunch of things that I'll show you in a minute. So you get these. You saw them in the previous part. These like fold out hex map sheets, which are really really durable. I mean, these things are freaking bomb proof. And they're dual-sided, so these freaks fold out, and they're like really thick card. They're really durable. Okay, so very good to practice the game and to get to know the game before you get like your board set up with your hexes and all that, and you get a whole bunch of books. Okay, now if you're new to Battletech, when you first go onto the website and stuff, it can seem quite intimidating because there's that much to the game. Okay, there's so many books and stuff. So they actually give you in here how the rule books work, okay? So they give you a breakdown of basically like what you need and what the books contain. Yes! He's getting axed! Die! Okay, so So that they give you like a breakdown in here of Battletech, the standard rules, like the technical readouts that contain like all the variations of battle mechs and the core rule books, Total Warfare, which I'll be reviewing in the next part 2, attack manual, etc, etc. And this is actually really useful, and they give you a breakdown of you know, what all these, oh man, that's gotta hurt, ooh, they give you a breakdown of basically how all the rulebooks work, and that's the whole point of that. So they give you that, which is really, really cool, and they give you a little thing of like 3D terrain versus maps, etc, etc. They tell you the pros and the cons, you know, all the stuff I've gone through, they kind of tell you it really, which is great. So you get that, you get the quick start rules, which is very thin, okay, and it is literally just get you started, and it's great for that. It's so simple. Like, you pick this thing up, you'll be going in like 10 freaking minutes. It's just brilliant. It just gets you going. So in the quick start rules, it's got that badass on the cover. You open this up, and so there you got like an example of some 3D terrain. Looks a bit better. You obviously get a lot better than that. And it tells you everything in here. It is so simple. Like, it just quick start rules. There you go. Sequence of play. There you go. Done. It's so simple. Like, it breaks it all down for you, and it's so easy to learn. Like, it's just a piece of freaking piss, really. And they even give you a little green training scenario for the rookie. They like give you a quick scenario to go through. In my freaking rulebook. They give you the record sheets, the two ones on the cover for the green training scenario, and they give you, in this box you get, let me just look at the back of the box, right? You get a freaking stupid number, 24. 24 battle mechs. I mean, what other freaking starter box? Anyway, so you get 24 mechs, okay, in this starter box, which is a lot. And they give you the record sheets for all of them. Like, the best thing to do with these is like photocopy them and laminate them, but you can use the originals if you really want to, because you can download these for the internet. And they give you this book, which is filled with all of the record sheets. They even give you extra stuff for like tanks. They got a Rommel tank. Badass. Okay, so they give you the you know, the readouts for all the different mechs. Assassin. The Vindicator. Yes. Yes, they give you the readouts for all of them. And they give you like 2 bonus mechs as well. You get like these special plastic set mechs, which are like a different cast from the other mechs, and they're much better quality. And they give you a Thor, which is really cool, missiles, and they give you a the Loki as well, which is also quite interesting. So there we go. What they also give you, guy, get out of the way, is they give you these little quick reference sheets, which I've laminated, and they like come in this like really thick cardstock that's almost already laminated, and that's dual-sided. So you have that with you in the game, and that just gives you a breakdown of all the modifiers and what have you. Okay, so you get 2 of them, which is awesome. Then you get an introductory rulebook. Okay, so you've got your quick start rules, and then they actually give you the proper rulebook. Okay, which is like naturally a lot thicker. Okay, you know, it's quite a bit thicker, and this is like going into essentially the full basic rules is in here. Okay, which is great. So let's just have a quick look, shall we? Yeah, so they got the breakdown, all the components, playing the game, combat, heat, blah 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 blah. They got vehicles, infantry, what have you, you know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they've just got the breakdown here, so it's a much more extensive rule set. They got that. Then they got the inner sphere at a glance. The freaking background in this game kicks ass. Read this. It's really good. So they give you, like, I rambled on about the history. I probably screwed it up, but they give you this, which is again fairly thick, and it gives you the background of the inner sphere, all the background story, which is really evocative, and it really gets you into the game, and it's just brilliant. It's an epic sort of space opera essentially. It's brilliant. It's so well done, and like I said, if you like Warhammer 40k background, this is like recommended reading. Seriously, this kicks the shit out of that. It's really, really good. Then you get they give you a little sort of sheet here, and it's got the Battletech painting and tactics guide. What it does on the tin. Shows you how to paint and gives you a basic run of tactics. Does what it says on the tin. So, like I said, you get 2 of these little folded hex boards. Both of them are double-sided, and you get a whole bunch of mechs. And I've painted these up. And some of the stuff isn't included in the starter box. Like if you look at the tanks and the infantry, it's all just mechs. Like that's what you get. Okay. So So these are sort of forces, okay? So I've just painted them various colors. So that's sort of quality of miniature. Now they're not great, okay? You can buy the metal miniatures, which is what these are, okay? Which are way better, okay? So the starter box quality of the miniatures is not great, but if you can get past that, they give you a crap ton of stuff, okay? So there we go. So that's a quick rundown of the introductory box set. Now I'll give you my final thoughts, and that will be me. So, final thoughts on Battletech. Guys, if you are a wargamer, okay, and I don't just mean somebody that plays a single game and that's it, I mean a wargamer, somebody who genuinely, at your core, you enjoy thinking cerebrally, you know, using that grey matter between your ears, okay, and playing a game that requires thinking and tactics and strategy and being a general, this is the game for you. It's a good game. It has flaws, which I'll go through now. One of the things with this game is the problem with scale, okay? Not in terms of the actual miniature scale, but in terms of the scale of gameplay. So like I said before, the basic breakdown is a lance, which is 4 battle mechs, okay? Now, with most war games, you've got like what they call the sweet spot, right? For want of a better term. So with Warhammer 40k, a lot of people think that, you know, 1750 is like the sweet spot. That's like the perfect points value to play. With this game, in my opinion, is 8,000 BV, which is called battle value. It's points, alright? So essentially what that can allow you to do, most lances will come in about 5,000 points, 5,000 BV. So that's like 4 mechs. So like a light mech, medium, a heavy, and an assault. So what 8,000 allows you to do is essentially it's a lance plus, like those forces I showed you there. So you've got like a lance of like 4 or 5 mechs, and you've got like extra stuff, so like some infantry or some tanks or maybe some aircraft. So it allows you that tactical flexibility. But the problem with this game is 2 things. The miniatures look like shit, okay? The new stuff looks fucking cool, but the miniatures look like crap, they do. And the problem is, a lot of people can't get over that. The first thing you look at when you look at a miniatures war game is the miniatures. That's why we do it, right? And a lot of the miniatures, a lot of people like them, okay? Like they like the old school look, but a lot of people don't. And this is one of my gripes with this introductory box set. Like this introductory box set, it's an introductory box set. This is not for veterans, okay? This is not for guys who know the game. This is for new people. So you shouldn't be sticking the old stuff in a fucking introductory box set, because it's going to put people off the game. You should be sticking all your new stuff in here, which like people are like, oh my god, that looks cool, you know. But they didn't do that, so that's a bit annoying. So there's that, and also the paperwork. If you didn't notice already, there's a lot of paperwork in this game. Now it gets bogged down by this. The problem is as soon as you go over, like I said, probably about 8,000 BVs, the sort of lance plus level of the game, it becomes an exercise in paperwork, and it gets shitty. This game works well at lance to lance plus level. Anything higher than that, it's too much fucking paperwork to keep track of. I mean, each mech has got their own freaking sheet. You know what I mean? They've all got their own sheet, alright? So you end up with like reams of paperwork, and it gets bogged down. So really, you need to know the game very well in order to play that scale of game. But other than that, those are the only 2 bad points I have with this game. It is a really good game. It's highly tactical. The possibilities in your force are you could play this game for the rest of your life and you wouldn't get to the end. Okay, it's freaking awesome, and it's just a good solid sound war game. And that's all I got to say about that. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please comment below. I know it's been a long video, and yeah, and take care.